Hello, fellow educators. Welcome to the 29th episode of Teacher Stint. Still a place to regain your strength after a long day, week, or maybe semester this 2024. I'm your host, Steve G, and I am so excited to share a new episode to our podcast. I want to start by apologizing to you, my fellow educators. I know it's been too long, too many weeks since we had an episode, but you know that those first weeks of school can be tough. You're the gurus, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But to make it up, I have brought an episode that I believe will help you because it's one of the things teachers say happens to be the most challenging, and that is facing parents. We're approaching the end of the first 9 weeks of school, and parent conferences are coming up. And some educators truly are so scared of parent conferences. Some teachers dread facing parents, and rightly so. We hear so often of many parents snapping at and aggressively attacking teachers that I'm not surprised this is not something we're looking forward to. Let us hope that if you follow the do's and stay away from the don'ts that I will be sharing today, you will have a successful parent conference. So, let's talk about the top 10 do's and don'ts for parent conferences. Let us begin with the do's. The first do of the five do's that I have for you today is do start with a positive remark. When you begin a conversation with parents, start by saying how happy you are that so and so is in your class because you actually enjoy his cheerfulness. You like her sense of humor. You enjoy anything that you can actually think of that can be a good trait that that particular child has. I know that sometimes we have to look a lot to find the good in the child, but gurus, they always find good in every kid. So do a little thinking and think, what would be a great good thing to say about this child when I begin my conversation with a parent? A second great thing to do is to remember at all times and assume that parents always want what is best for their children. We may not see it, we may not understand it, but these parents love our students way more than we do. And it's a great reminder that we tell ourselves, well, these parents, they really want what is best for them. And I have to respect that. That might actually sometimes bring you to consider the things you say or how you say things, but do assume that parents want what is best for their children. A third great thing to do is whenever you're in doubt or whenever parents come up with requests that you don't know about, that you can say, well, I'm not sure about that. Some teachers feel that they should know and have every answer for parents, but that's not true. We don't have to have every answer. We're not the principals. We're not administrators. We're teachers. We probably know most of the things that happen in our classroom, but we don't know certain things, whether they can be done or not at school. So, a great thing in response to a request can be, you know what? I'm not sure about that. Let me ask my principal, and I will certainly get back to you. A fourth great thing to do is to set boundaries. Do set boundaries with parents. You do not have to be available to parents 24/7. One way I do this is by removing the platform that we use to communicate with parents from my cell phone. I do have it in my laptop, which stays at school, and that's on all day long while I'm there. So if a parent sends a message to me, I will see during the day. But once I go home, I'm gone. And the messages stay on my screen, which I will see the next morning, but they don't follow me home. You do not need to be available to parents at 6 o'clock, at 8 o'clock, at every time. Because if you don't set boundaries, this is going to bring some problems to your own personal life. And finally, the last do use parent friendly language in your communication. Sometimes we teachers get so excited and we get so technical that we begin sharing all this data and we go, well, yeah, so and so, he's in the 78th percentile, and we share all this information that maybe we understand, but parents may not. So let's use parent friendly language. We may need to come down to their level or up to their level depending on what kind of kids you have and what kind of parents you have. But whichever way you go, keep it parent friendly. Right, let's move on to the do nots now. Number one, do not. Do not accept any gossip from parents. You might call a parent and dad or mom might say, oh, yeah, you're not like last year's teacher who blah, blah, blah. And they might bring you all this gossip about last year's teacher. You can stop them and say, you know what, ma'am, I'm so sorry. You know what, sir? I really feel bad that you had to go through that last year, but we're not talking about last year. I'm calling you to talk about this year and to move forward and how your child is doing this year. A lot of parents, will rant if they're allowed to, but that gossip is not going to help you, is not going to help them. So, actually, not putting up with any gossip is a great thing to do. The second do not is don't accept any unreasonable requests. I mean, some parents today will come up with some requests that are really, really crazy. One thing is that you're accommodating to parents, and another thing is that you accept requests that are not reasonable. So, don't be afraid to say no. We have a code of civility in my district where everything is clearly written what is allowed and what is not. And again, if you have any doubts, remember one of the do's. Say, I'm not sure about that. Let's look it up. A third thing to try to avoid is using the words always and never when talking about kids. It doesn't really go well if you start a conversation by saying, Johnny never brings his homework. You can instead say, this past week, Johnny didn't bring his homework twice, and I would like to talk about that. Using the words always and never usually put people more of on a defensive side, so you truly want to avoid that. Using other things like sometimes, seldom, often, instead of those words always and never, can go a long way. The number four do not thing to do during parent conference is, I believe, don't put up with any disrespect. Sometimes parents go into a line of communication where they become aggressive. If you at any point feel that you're being disrespected, it's absolutely okay for you to say, ma'am, sir, we're going to stop this conversation. I have the feeling that I'm not being respected at this point, so we will probably keep on talking at another time when you feel you can stay respectful when you are talking and addressing me. We do not have to put up with any disrespect. And finally, and I believe this one has become quite crucial in the last few years, try not to leave a huge digital footprint when you communicate with parents. As we move on from phone conversations to platforms like Remind or Talking Points, where we text parents, this leaves a digital footprint that can sometimes be a little dangerous. I remember my previous school, a wonderful teacher had a situation with a mother who texted her a few times on the digital platform that we were using at that time, Remind, saying, my child says that you pick on him. And then the teacher would very professionally respond, no, ma'am, this is what happened with your child, and would explain. And that exchange took place 3 or 4 times because that mother wasn't pleased with what the answers that my coworker was giving. She went downtown and an investigation was started because she was able to show all the written communication. Nothing happened in the end, of course, because this was a great teacher, but she had to sweat a few weeks while the investigation was ongoing. I don't know about you, but I already sweat enough. I don't need to be sweating over all these things. So, what I do instead, most of my communication with parents, it's over the phone. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I don't want to give them my phone number. No, don't. I have a phone, a good old telephone in my room, and I give them that number. And they are free to call me anytime they want. If I can pick up, I do. If I'm teaching or if I'm not there, I don't, but they can leave a message. But conversations don't leave a digital footprint. Any other type of conversation, either email or text messages, do. So try to stay away from leaving a huge digital footprint. In conclusion, if you follow the five do's, use positive remarks, assume parents want what is best for the children, say, I'm not sure, set boundaries with parents, and use parent friendly language, and you stay away from the don'ts, don't allow gossip, don't accept unreasonable requests, don't use always and never, don't put up with disrespect, and don't leave a big digital footprint, you will have a successful parent conference. Remember that the fall break is coming right after that, so that should be your reward for a great parent conference. I hope you found value in what was shared in today's presentation. Please continue suggesting topics you would like to hear discussed by following me on Instagram and leaving comments. And remember, if you're enjoying the show, please don't forget to let your colleagues and friends know about and bring them to Teach a Stand. We'll make room for them too. Have a great day.